Of the four original survivors, each one was built with a specific role in mind, and for Jake, that role is the sneaky saboteur. Stealth is the name of the game here, and Jake excels in that regard. Plus, Saboteur can be a great way to save a teammate from getting hooked, making Jake a distinctly different type of support from Claudette. Let's talk about the specifics of his perks. Jake's first perk is arguably one of the best stealth perks in the game, which is pretty impressive considering how simple the effect is. When injured, your pains and grunts are reduced in volume by 100%. Basically what this means is there is no audible difference between healthy and injured, and that can help with sneaking a lot. It is worth noting that this buff is actually deactivated if you are afflicted with exhaustion, so you should keep that in mind if you're going to use an exhaustion perk. Though I will also say that if you use Sprint Burst, you probably shouldn't bother with this, since you'll likely be exhausted a lot. Great stealth perk. Perk number 2 is another stealth perk that affects your voice, much like Iron Will, though that isn't all it does. This perk has 4 different effects, making it the most complicated perk of the 12 presented by the original survivors. Firstly, it makes crows not fly away when you approach, which helps with stealth a little, but mostly serves to counter spies in the shadows. I don't know that that's the specific intention, but it doesn't really matter since there's no way of knowing whether the killer is using it or not. The second effect is that you will never scream, no matter what happens. This isn't super powerful since there's only a handful of things that will make you scream, such as getting hit as well as getting hooked. But in those instances, it doesn't really matter either way. What this is really helpful for is facing the Doctor, or the perk Ultimate Weapon. Both of these options the killer has access to are heavily reliant on getting the survivors to scream in order to track them down, and Calm Spirit shuts them down completely. The problem with both of these bonuses is that you only get value out of them against a specific killer, or a killer using specific perks. The final 2 effects are the same effect, just applied to 2 different things. You're now able to both unlock chests and cleanse totems completely silently, which is kinda neat, I guess. But wait! This comes at the heavy cost of doing those things 30% slower. This is terrible. Silent unlocking might come in handy once in a while, but it probably isn't something you'll be doing often, especially if you already brought an item with you. But silent cleansing is totally pointless, since cleansing is almost silent already. I would say these bonuses are lame and not really worthwhile, but things are made significantly worse by that speed penalty, which makes this element of the perk downright detrimental. At least you can counter the slowdown of cleansing with a perk like Counterforce, but if you're bringing Calm Spirit, I wouldn't worry too much about cleansing anyway. I wouldn't say Calm Spirit's a bad perk by any means, just kind of a middling one. This is an example of a support perk that has nothing to do with healing, and it's a pretty damn good one at that, if you can make it work. To make the support element work, you have to be quick on your feet and close to the killer, which isn't always possible. So what does it actually do? Saboteur allows you to sabotage hooks without the need for a toolbox, which opens up the best method of stalling the killer when they pick someone up. If you sabotage the hook the killer was headed towards, then they obviously can't use that hook and have to move to a different one, giving their victim more wiggling time. That said, the perk has a 60-second cooldown, meaning you can't sabotage multiple hooks in a row, so this perk doesn't necessarily invalidate toolboxes as an option. Another reason you might still consider using toolboxes is the secondary effect. When a killer picks up a survivor, you will see the auras of all hooks within 56 meters of that pickup spot, making it easier to intercept them. That being said, unless you're close to the killer already, you will have a real hard time saving anybody, so you may want to consider pairing this with an exhaustion perk like Background Player. Another thing to keep in mind is that the cooldown timer actually triggers when you start sabotaging, not when you finish. This means that even if you start sabotaging the wrong hook, you might as well commit for the extra blood points since you'll have to deal with the cooldown either way. A great support perk if you can make it work, but it requires a lot more effort than a simple healing perk. And that's all of Jake's perks. Pretty decent selection overall, and I had a lot more to say on them than I thought I would, but I want to know what you think. Am I overcomplicating Saboteur? Am I wrong in saying that silent unlocking and cleansing is a worthless bonus that doesn't justify the huge penalties that come with them? Feel free to discuss in the comments, but in the meantime, I have more work to do. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.